You're still on your knees in a room. It looks like. What the hell's that behind you? Over your shoulder. Over there was like heads. Yes.
That's Jason. Hockey mask. There's a Batman mask.
You should have wore that during the show. What's the matter with you? Oh, you ever been on Nick Push's channel?
I don't think so. I think it was just, I've been on with Push, but I think it was from Blaster's channel.
You got to watch Nick Push. If the word on him is if he touches your more than once, it's not an accident. you ever meet him in person? You got to watch out.
Yeah.
All the good names are taken. Podcast. I'm Ronnie. Today we have Shane. Wait, hold on. There it is. Shane Emerson live with us. He won the ATGNAT raffle. The only reason I know about you is from Jake Blaster's channel. I watched it to see Nick Push, and there you were. And then on one of his 42,000 trivia shows, you showed up to face Blake, and you totally, I don't know if you know it or not, you totally got screwed and hosed. They gave Blake the easy questions. They gave you the tough questions. And they told me behind the scenes it was they wanted Blake to win. It was like pro wrestling. It was a work.
Yeah, it was fixed, I think. I think you're right on it.
Which you did what I would have done. You went with the Halloween questions, which is smart, and in a way, I'm talking out both sides of my ass. It's really not smart because when you're dealing with people, you knew Blaster was going to like go to the index and try to find the most obscure Halloween stuff, like what color was Loomis's trick question, edit. Trick question. He had none. So there we go. He was one of the original OG shit back in the 70s.
Back in the 70s.
We both know his had sideburns. But here's what we got going on. No Blake. You're filling in, so good luck to you. But first, Blake sent me some questions because Blake loves him some Shane Emerson. And he said, I have to ask you these questions. These are not my questions. This is not a gimmick. These are the questions in the order he wants me to ask to see what you would say. The hair's banging, by the way. I'm loving the hair.
Thank you.
First question. Question number one. This is how we're going to get warmed up. This is how we do it in the pros right here. I don't know if you realize this, Shane, because you're close to the product. You get dozens of views. Dozens. There you go. Question number one. Shane, are you still in college?
Yes.
Why not? I'm just reading what he's got. All right. Question number two. Are you still playing baseball?
Yeah.
Why not? So I guess he's assuming that you quit everything. Question is a typical Blake question. I'm going to try to be as articulate as I can with this. What the do?
Edit.
Last one. This is all from Blake, I promise.
All right.
How many push-ups can you do?
Consecutively?
Yes.
50.
Bullshit. That's what he's got right here. Listen. So it didn't matter what you said. Day 15, 31 days, guys. Sort of feels like September, Shane, but it's really October. Okay, it's October the 15th, and today we're talking Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. Now, I'm pretty sure when I reached out to you, Shane, because I thought it'd be fun for you to come on our show, mainly because you never talk on the other shows I've seen you on, and now you've already talked like 10 times as much in 2 minutes on this show than you have on the others, which means one thing, we're better than all the other guys. But anyway, I gave you the option of a movie to choose, and you chose Texas Chainsaw Massacre, The Next Generation. Please defend yourself.
I wish I could. Yeah, I watched this movie for the first time probably 5 years ago on Christmas Eve, actually. Couldn't find it anywhere. Finally recorded it one day. Watched it on Christmas Eve, 2018, 2019. Haven't thought about it since until October 2023.
And now you know why.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of weird. I mean, you're hunting it on Christmas Eve. So one thing I've noticed about you, and people have already tuned out because if I've learned one thing from YouTube, Shane, if you don't get, and you're probably one of these people too, if you don't immediately get to the review, their ass is gone. It's like they don't even know what the fast forward button is. Like you could check the YouTube analytics. If we hit our intro, boom, they're out of there. They can't wait the 32 seconds. They have got to have the information now. So that's usually when I say them, because I want to know information about you. Edit. So here's what's going to happen. Here's what I'm going to ask you. I always see you in the chats for all these shows. and you make really good comments, and you seem to have a very good knowledge of horror. So fill me in really quickly. How long have you been a horror fan? What movie got you into horror, and what's your horror collection looking like?
I would say I got into movies in general, but also horror movies prior on middle school, 6th, 7th grade. And I know the movie that really got me into the Halloween franchise was 2018, because I saw it in theaters, and I'd seen some of the franchise at that point, wasn't familiar with the continuity, the timelines. And then it kind of just spawned from there. I'd say the Halloween franchise. And then from there on out, I really got into horror.
No Friday the 13th, love? What's wrong with you?
No, I love Friday the 13th.
Let's say you got a Jason mask back there.
Yeah.
So this is a good question because you're way younger than me. You're the college demo that people are trying to reach on these channels. Old like me that are trying to get people your age to watch. And you just brought up a great point. You said you didn't understand the Halloween continuity. My big argument is normal movie watchers are too stupid to try to even entertain when you redo a timeline. I don't know if the word is stupid or they're just not invested enough to figure out, okay, part 1 and part 2, and then it goes all the way to 6, and then it restarts. If you watch H2O, it's only 1 and 2, but hey, Rob Zombie's got his own different universe, but also Halloween 2018, all you got to do is watch the original. It's confusing. It's confusing. And now you got people saying that the next timeline should be from Halloween 4, which I think in theory would probably be a good idea if Jamie Lloyd was still 13 years old. But she's not 13 years old. She's 63 years old on OnlyFans. So where do you think they should go with the franchise? I know we're talking Halloween and it's Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but I want to know from you, do they restart it or should they make another sequel? If they redo it, do we have to have all the same names? Does it have to be Laurie Strode again? Does it have to be a Dr. Loomis? Why can't it be like Michael Myers and completely different characters? That's my thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if they did another remake, I think it would have to just be wildly different.
Like a not bad. That would really throw people.
That would, yeah, that would.
I mean,
that would be different.
I'm making that joke, but people would really get mad about that. Let's get started because I've took us off the rails. Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. The first time I saw this movie, I was walking through the VHS rental store in 1995-ish, 96-ish. Don't even know exact. It might have been 97. And I come across Matthew McConaughey, Renee Zellweger, fresh off of Jerry Maguire. I think he was fresh off of Time to Kill. And they capitalized big time by putting them two on the box. I love horror movies. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Not as much as some people do, but I do find entertainment in each of the movies up until this one. And I said, why not? So I watched it. The first time watching, when I was 17 years old, 16 years old, I loved Matthew McConaughey in this movie. I loved him in this movie. And then I thought the end of it was weird, and we'll get into that in a second. But I can't tell you, I think in the last 20 years, Shane, I may have watched this movie one time. I've never wanted to revisit this movie. And then watching it earlier today, I understand why I never wanted to revisit this movie. We're going to do something we call 3 for 3. You're a baseball guy, so I'm going to try to do baseball terminology. 3 for 3. You're going to tell me the three things, the three main points you want to talk about in this movie. I'll tell you the three main points I want to talk about this movie. So I want to start, or do you want to start? I'm going to let you start. You're the guest. I'll let you start. What's the first thing you want to talk about in this movie? Because I could talk about it all night, and I want to go to bed.
Something with another franchise we were just talking about earlier, the continuity. This movie just ignores it. Whatever came before it. This is like the Batman and Robin of this franchise, where it forced a remake, a reboot. There was nowhere you could go after this movie.
I think they ruined everything. Like, there's no way to branch off, and I didn't even think about the continuity when it comes to it, because you have part one, and then part two, even though it's supposed to be a sequel, and they throw the hitchhiker's dead body in there at the beginning of it as the skeleton, and you still have Leatherface, and you have Franklin's uncle or whatever he's supposed to be, and Dennis Hopper. There are loose connections between 1 and 2. And then you go to Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1990, which I really like that movie. And it's because we had it recorded on a VHS, and that's the one I watched over and over and over growing up. So I really liked that movie. Did I think that movie was great? No, but I thought it was, I thought there were parts of the movie that were really, really scary. And then you get to this one. And I think you may not agree with me, but I don't think there's a scary part in this movie. They totally ruin everything about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. They ruin everything. It's almost like they said, here, we're giving you the keys to this intellectual property. When you get finished, make sure you tear this off the hinges, because we don't want anything left. We don't want to make another movie about it. So that's a really good point. My first one, McConaughey's mechanical leg. So Matthew McConaughey plays probably the scariest person in this movie in Vilmer, which is a classic Southern name that always pisses me off because I'm from the South. And I don't think I've ever met anyone named Vilmer. Okay. So Vilmer is the guy driving the tow truck. He's the guy running the house. There's 47 scenes of Matthew McConaughey with his arms out screaming in the kitchen for whatever reason, like he's doing blow. He's got a chick that works at a real estate office that they have a simulated sex scene on top of some pizza. But the leg is what kills me. He's got his leg done up like something from Ghostbusters. He looks like a 1980s wrestler who blew his knee out. He's got this huge knee brace on his knee that is only controlled by remote controls. So it makes zero sense, because if it's controlled by the remote control, he needs to be pressing that button every time he walks, but he's not. Now, somebody in the comments are going to go, well, it might work off hydraulics or something like that. It doesn't, because he says my batteries aren't charged. So there's a couple of things I need to know. One, he's got this like 10-fold up tube that runs from the bottom to the top, and he's constantly grabbing remotes to unlock his knee brace. 2 questions for you, Shane. 1, how the hell is this supposed to work? And 2, what the hell happened to his knee for him to need that knee brace?
Well, seeing how he just casually jumps from the roof of this house at one part, I guess that explains it. He must have made a habit of it.
I blew out my PCL. Ain't no biggie.
But what's really crazy is that they did the brace in part 3 with Leatherface, and they do it with several things in this movie, but they do things that have already been done just worse.
You're right about the brace in Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 3, but it's actually cool in that movie because when they're all quiet in the woods, you can hear the squeaking of the knee brace as Leatherface gets closer and closer. So good call right there. It's like they took that aspect of a good movie, and not a lot of people say Part 3 is good, but I don't care. I like it. They took the aspect of a good movie and they ruined it in this one with the electronic knee. And then there's parts in the movie where like he's his girlfriend, I'm guessing that's his girlfriend, Darla. He's like mashing the button so his electronic leg will like step on her throat. Then at the end of it, he's running a 40-yard dash. He looks like Jake Taylor at the end of Major League running after Renee Zellweger. And the electronic knee apparently has no problem whatsoever. I think the Matthew McConaughey, the Vilmer character would have been a lot better off without the knee thing going on. I like him better as just the crazy guy in charge of the Sawyer house, with all his faculties, no bad legs, nothing like that. That was my first one. What's your second one?
Just Leatherface. I mean, it's crazy to think, but I think he's the worst character in this movie.
You're not wrong.
He just screams. The makeup design, not a fan of it at all. And there's kind of what was hinted at particularly in the first movie. They go very over the top with it in this one, and it just takes away any creepiness, any mystique. It just makes them lame and feels lazy, and not a fan of it.
That was my number two. I put transvestite Leatherface. They went full-fledged girl in this movie from the very start. There's nothing about the mask he has on that looks scary. I mean, when you think about the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you think about that mask he had on covering up that disfigured face. When you think about part two, it was a little bit more cartoony, but it was still scary. And you think about part three, which is probably the worst out of the first three movies, but there was still something there that made you think, man, what is underneath that mask? That dude is sick. But in this one, he looks like a woman. He looks like an old woman. And he spends the majority of the movie with makeup on, with lipstick on, wearing dresses. At the end of the movie, he's wearing a dress. And like I said, they totally ruined Leatherface. One of the things about Leatherface is he's supposed to be unhinged, big maniac. In this one, think about this. The first time we ever see Leatherface in this franchise, every channel, everybody's talked it to death. The door slides open, boom, big, terrifying, gigantic man, hammers somebody with a hammer over the head, drags him in, slams the door like a maniac. Think about how he's introduced in this movie. The chick is on the porch. I think her name's Heather. She's on the porch, and Leatherface slinks in behind her, and he's like rubbing her on the shoulders. I mean, and it's just really, really weird. And then he starts screaming like a girl. Like, that's the thing about it. He screams like a chick more than the chicks scream like chicks in this movie. He's afraid of Vilmer. He's afraid of the character whose name I don't know that's always quoting historical figures like Ulysses S. Grant. And he's scared of the other guy that comes in at the end of it. He is without a doubt, Shane, the worst character in this movie. And this is a movie that's quite possibly filled with the worst acting of this franchise. Now, I would be lying to you if I said, hey, man, I've seen every movie in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. I haven't. I've seen this one. I've seen the first three. I saw the remake, and then I saw the prequel to the remake, and then I saw the one that came on Netflix that I thought was pretty good. I missed out the other ones in the middle. I missed out on those. You may have seen them, but I haven't. Yeah, so the beginning of this movie starts off with a prom going on, and some of the dumbest actors and the dumbest acting you'll see. You've got like the stereotypical teacher coming out drinking with the students, talking about having sex. You've got the old teacher inside gossiping with the students, and then you've got Heather and Barry, and Heather is like one of the worst characters ever in a movie. She catches her boyfriend making out, and then 2 minutes later, everything's okay. And then she has a chance to escape later in the movie, but she doesn't. And Barry, look, I guess it's a long way to get to. I didn't care if any of these characters lived or died in this movie.
No, exactly. Yeah, the setup itself it's not a terrible idea coming home from prom. It's kind of just a classic generic slasher story, but it can work. We've seen it work. And they just completely tear it down. Any hope that they build pretty early on.
So that was my second one too. And before we get to your third and final one, I've got a couple more questions from Blake. These are would you questions. So you're young, you know these. So Blake asked, would you on Lizzo if it meant you could find a cure for AIDS?
I don't think so.
Sorry, AIDS community. Edit. Shane's not saving you. I love how much thought you put into that too. You gave the deep breath. Guys, I can't do it. I can't do it. All right, Shane, what's your third one?
The whole Illuminati and like government subplot in this movie, I don't know where it was intended to go, why it was put in. It just, none of it can be justified. You can't make any sense out of it.
You know, at times like this, I wish I could have been on set just to go, what the hell are we doing? I mean, if somebody on set, are they that happy to make a movie that nobody just goes, what in the hell are we doing? Has anybody seen the other movies? Obviously, you saw
seen any movie.
You've seen anything. What the hell are we doing, people? I mean, Leatherface cut some woman's face off, and then he was reapplying lipstick to her dead face in the original. And you have turned that into Leatherface is a cross dresser and wants to be a woman. Why should we be scared of him? And is this really a government subplot, Shane? Is that what you got out of this? Did I miss something?
That's what it seems like to me. There's that one scene, I think it's in the attic. I can't remember who says it, but somebody says, "Who do you think killed JFK?" They're like, "It's these people. It's us." I don't know what they mean, but there's something going on that went over every human being's head on Earth.
My third one is, I think, tied in with your third one. The weird business guy at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
Like he comes in, he's in a limo, by the way, and there's nothing funnier than seeing a limo on a dirt road. He comes in and everybody immediately is afraid of him. If they said what his name was, I missed it and I'm sorry. But he appeared to be the person in control. And just when you think this movie can't go any more off the rails, he apparently is chewing out Vilmer because this is not the experience he wants these victims to have. He later tells Renee Zellweger it's supposed to be a spiritual experience of horror. Now, I don't know how that's supposed to happen when they kill everybody that comes in there. But here's the point I'm getting to. They have her tied up. And real quick before I get to my point, do they have to do the kitchen table scene in every Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie?
Everyone. Well, what I can't get out of my head from that scene. This was shortly after Dazed and Confused. That scene, Matthew McConaughey comes in and he says, "All right, all right, all right." Why? Just why? And
He knew that was going to be his catchphrase, like "I'll be back."
Yeah, he's going to say it in everything.
Everything. So this guy walks up to Renee Zellweger and he opens up his shirt because he's wearing a tuxedo. He opens up his shirt. What the hell is going on there, Shane? It's like he's got 16 nipples and they're all like pierced, but at the same time, he's got like Aztec type designs scarred into his stomach. I mean, I really didn't, and he's licking all over Renee Zellweger before he left. What the hell's going on with his upper body there? I mean, is this like a D. Snyder Strangeland type thing right here where he's just like, I mean, that's the most terrifying part of the movie is when he pulls his shirt off. Because, you know, even if I'm sitting there tied to that chair and all my friends have died, I'll be like, dude, what the is this? Before I die, let me know. What have you done? Who cut your hair? This is all up in the back.
Yeah, I wish I had something that could help explain it. But what's even crazier is I think it's either that scene or shortly before. Renee Zellweger, she like just gets up and she's like, "Okay, I'm leaving now."
Yes. And she screams at Leatherface to shut the F up, yeah. I think she's got the gun on Matthew McConaughey and she won't pull the trigger. And that's when he's like barking and for like 10 minutes. I don't know. It's almost like this movie's a piece of shit, Shane.
I think we might be able to draw that conclusion.
At the end of it, she's running away because every Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, there has to be a chase scene at the end because the first movie was so iconic. And out of nowhere, an airplane dips down and hits Matthew McConaughey and kills him.
It's never explained who's driving it, who's flying it, who's in it. It just From Russia with Love style comes in, kills McConaughey, kills the main antagonist of the movie. That's
Amelia Earhart shows back up and kills him. Zero sense. Leatherface sees that Matthew McConaughey's dead and then just goes to screaming. And all of a sudden, the limo's back and they just pick her up and she just jumps in the limo. And the guy's reading the damn Wall Street Journal. And he's like, I wasn't supposed to go this way. It's a whole house full of idiots. I'll drop you wherever you need to be dropped.
Could you imagine if they were going to make a direct sequel to this and you were in charge of trying to explain everything that happened? It's way harder than trying to write Halloween 6.
I would love it. Okay, so we'd pick it up. Great point, Shane. I'm loving you on this channel right now because you're actually bringing knowledge. So Ronnie's sequel, direct sequel to The Next Generation, right off the top of my head, it picks up with Matthew McConaughey getting up, still alive. Kills Leatherface right there because Leatherface is an old woman. And now he is the new chainsaw wielding killer. And he goes back to his house, and then boom, we set it like 6 or 7 years in the future where some more dumbasses end up wandering down there, and it's just him grabbing them, tying them into a chair, cutting him in half with chainsaws, saying crazy shit in his southern accent before somebody finally kills him and burns that damn house to the ground. That's how you pick it up, because it's got to be McConaughey, because the rest of those characters were freaking dog. That's the only way you could do it. And just by having McConaughey in it, it's going to make money. Most people, he doesn't even know. Did you see that Saturday Night Live skit 100 years ago? He doesn't even know what Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie he was in. He thinks he was in part 3. You have to restart the timeline after a piece of crap like this. And the only way you can go with it is a remake. And look, they go and make an amazing remake in my mind. They went and made an amazing remake, but then they ruined it at the end of it by cutting off his damn arm. So you can't go anywhere further from that point because Leatherface has got one arm.
Yeah. That would definitely not happen now.
No. All right, so that'll wrap it up. I guess we should have brought up the fact that Sally and Franklin have a cameo for some reason in the hospital.
They had the balls after all that shit to do that when you think it can't get any crazier.
No. Okay, by the way, we're going to bring these two characters from the first one. They're going to come rolling through there. And why is she, I mean, is that really supposed to be, okay, here's a question. Is that supposed to be Sally from the first one? Or is she just playing a character that's in the hospital that was supposed to be like a nod? There you go. Obviously, Franklin died in the first one, so that can't be the real Franklin unless he survived.
And he's walking.
He's walking. I don't know. I don't know what they were thinking. I really don't know what they're thinking. I think they just needed like a tax write-off, so they made this movie, and then they lucked into Renee Zellweger and Matthew McConaughey blowing up at the same time, and we're like, holy shit, we'll put them on the box and see what happens. I know I went and bought it. I mean, I own this movie on DVD somewhere in a storage unit. So, all right, Shane Emerson, 1 through 10. What are you ranking the Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation?
It's very, very bad. But I have seen worse. I'm gonna go. It's in the 1.5 to 2 range.
You said it's very bad, but I've seen worse, and then you give it a 1.5.
Yeah, there's 1s out of 10s out there. There's 1s.
Okay, I'm thinking like a 2.7. A 2.7, and most of that is because of Matthew McConaughey. And of course, at the end, we get another random shot of Leatherface swinging the chainsaw around. Except if you go back and watch this effing guy was getting it. He was like really, I thought he was going to like let go and like discus that chainsaw like into the field or something. He was spinning so much.
It's going to hit the plane.
2.7. Hit us in the comments, guys. What do you think about Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation? Hit us with your 3 for 3 in the comments. Tell us what you thought about Shane's opinions, what you think about my opinions. It's October the 15th, and we at this channel have brought out the true personality of Shane Emerson, who has talked more on this channel now than I've ever heard him talk. I love it. We're going to have him back on the channel unless I've scared him away with some of my edited comments. And anything you want to add, Shane? Shane, you still don't have a YouTube channel, right? When's that coming? When's that happening?
It's probably going to happen in the future.
Okay, well, the future. I mean, hell,
in the not too distant future, it'll probably happen.
Real quick, what's the name of your channel going to be? Is it going to be just horror? Is it going to be movies and horror? Is it going to be you begging for super chats? What's going on?
Yeah, probably a little bit of everything.
Favorite YouTuber on YouTube right now, not named Nick Push? Who you got?
Probably Cody Leach.
Cody Leach. He's another Southern guy. That's a good one. I haven't checked much of his stuff out. All these guys that are huge now, I remember watching them early in the pandemic when they were first getting started. And then when I came back to watch YouTube again, like him and Drum Dums and Dave McRae had all blown up into like giant like entities on YouTube in the horror sector. So that was kind of wild. Anyway, Shane won't make another appearance because he didn't say us. atgnatpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us in the comments with anything that you want to say. Hit us with your rating in case I didn't say that. October the 15th, halfway through October. Hopefully you guys are enjoying October. Hopefully YouTube hasn't been overrun with the same Halloween content for the past 15 days. Shane, how many times is too many before a channel to review the Halloween series? Or are you one of those people that just don't care? They can keep talking about it forever.
Well, if they keep finding new stuff to talk about, keep talking about it. Somebody out there hasn't talked about something.
That's why you're the best. That's why you're the best. And that's the reason you suggested the edit. And that's the reason it's going to be a $200 million franchise again. All right. So October the 15th. I wish I knew what we were reviewing tomorrow. That's what happens when you're disorganized. Shane, thank you in all seriousness for stepping up. I know you didn't know me before tonight. I appreciate you coming on. I had fun with you. I know it's late. Remember, you can dominate the diamond with a fastball and a changeup.
Sounds good. Yeah, thanks for having me.